A pack of wolves was constantly moving around a place where soldiers were stationed. For such a bizarre scene, the soldiers inside were not surprised at all. So what exactly happened? Soldiers who fought bravely on the battlefield will inevitably be injured or even die, and the injured soldiers will be carefully treated and cared for by the military doctors in the barracks. There was a capable female military doctor in a military camp on the grassland. The doctor was from the local area. She knew some local medical skills and would go to the mountains to collect medicine from time to time. After joining the army, she learned some Western medical knowledge and skills and was able to handle some common surgical operations proficiently. When the battle was intense, she was so busy every day that she would only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep several nights a week. However, during a period when the war eased, the female military doctor had more rest time. One day, she happened to have some free time, so she went up into the mountain to collect herbs as usual. When she wanted to go to another mountain forest, she met a local herdsman who was herding sheep. Now, maybe it was because she went far away that time, but the herdsman kindly reminded her that there were wolves in the forest and told her to be careful. The doctor wanted to leave after thanking him, but she felt that she'd been there for a while, and as long as she moved quickly, there wouldn't be any danger. So, she continued to walk into the forest. When she was about to go back after successfully collecting the medicine, what she worried about happening indeed came to be. She suddenly heard a burst of wolf howls. But when she panicked and began to listen carefully, she found that the wolf howls seemed to be full of sadness, more like mourning. But she didn't want to stay there because the wolves she had seen before were very fierce, especially because they hunted the cattle and sheep of the local herdsmen. They were probably just too hungry, so they occasionally hunted the herders' cattle and sheep, but they rarely attacked the herders. However, the further back the doctor walked, the closer the wolf howled. When she reacted and wanted to change direction, she suddenly saw the wailing wolf in the distance. She froze in place and didn't care to move. She didn't know if the wolf saw her or if she'd run away. But if she did run away, it would chase her. She was going to try to back away slowly while staring at the wolf, but before taking a few steps back, she saw that the wolf was walking abnormally. Out of a doctor's keen intuition, she guessed that the wolf might have been seriously injured. But out of her instinct for her safety, she immediately thought that maybe the wolf was too hungry and desperate for food, so she figured it was best to run away. Now, after thinking about this for a while, the doctor still wanted to leave first. At that time, she still had many wounded soldiers in need of medical treatment and care, and that was the most important thing. However, for some reason, she only cared about the wolf, so she didn't realize that there was a cliff in front of her escape direction. At the time, she thought she was in a corner and there was no way out. Well, without waiting for her to think about her situation, the wolf began to slowly approach her. She stared at the wolf walking towards her, and she was terribly panicked and desperate. But then the wolf fell to the ground as soon as it came not too far from her. The wolf didn't die, it just stared at the doctor with open eyes. Seeing this, the doctor felt that she was safe again. But naturally, she walked over to the wolf to see what was wrong with it. After approaching, she found that the wolf didn't seem to be hostile, but it seemed to be pleading. The wolf was a majestic and oppressive male wolf, but it was covered with bloody scars. The doctor wondered if the wolf was hunting something more ruthless than it. Where did its companion go? Facing this scarred wolf, the doctor could only put down her many doubts first. She thought that she had just picked a lot of medicinal herbs to heal the wolf, and that the wolf was badly injured and it probably wouldn't hurt her. She thought it was weak then and probably incapable of attacking her anyway. So the doctor carefully touched the male wolf. Knowing that it was indeed approaching her for help, the doctor handled the wound skillfully for it. After it was over, the male wolf immediately got up and turned around happily. It looked at the doctor affectionately and then left. After returning to the barracks later, the doctor talked to the other medics about it. Others found it unbelievable and even felt the doctor was making up the story. However, after listening to the doctor say so many details, they finally believed it. They felt that they could only describe it in such detail if they had experienced it for themselves firsthand. After a long time, the doctor went back to the mountain forest to collect more medicine one day. And the mountain forest was not far from the mountain forest where she rescued the wolf. When the doctor entered the forest and arrived at a place with a lot of herbs, a wolf suddenly rushed towards her, and the doctor was suddenly too frightened to think. When she reacted and was about to run away, she found that the wolf was just as majestic as the male wolf she had rescued earlier. And when she noticed the scars on its body, she knew that it was the male wolf she had rescued last time. The male wolf was not hostile, though, and it looked at the doctor with the same pleading eyes. The doctor thought the wolf looked healthy. Even judging by the way it was running wildly, it was very robust. But seeing that the doctor was puzzled, the male wolf immediately looked at her and then turned to look in another direction. It ran a few steps in that direction and then looked at the doctor and repeated this action several times. After the male wolf's repeated actions, the doctor finally knew what it was trying to do. The male wolf was trying to make her go somewhere with it. Something must have happened. The male wolf looked very anxious then. So the doctor followed the male wolf, and as soon as she stopped, the male wolf would repeat the motion of turning its head and humming. Finally, after the doctor was taken to a certain place by the male wolf stopped. The doctor saw the scene in front of her with great concern. At that time, a female wolf who was giving birth to a cub was lying weakly on the ground. It turned out that the female wolf was in a very difficult labor, so the male wolf was very anxious. Fortunately, though, it had met the doctor again. Although the doctor had never worked in the OBGYN department, she was relatively familiar with the theoretical knowledge in that area. And the she-wolf's condition wasn't too serious, so she rescued it. After that, the male wolf happily rubbed against the female military doctor's leg. However, the doctor had to return not long after that because her free time was up. The doctor didn't tell anyone that she rescued the wolf and its cub, which was very abnormal, but others kept asking her what happened. Finally, one day not long after, a pack of wolves suddenly appeared outside the barracks where the doctor was. After hearing this, the doctor looked through the window. She saw the male wolf she had rescued twice, and the male wolf also saw her and ran towards her a few steps. Although the wolves were outside the barracks at that time, the majestic body of the male wolf was so recognizable that the doctor recognized it immediately. The wolves were not hostile, though. Something may have happened. In order to prevent the soldiers from destroying the pack of wolves as interference targets, the doctor went out immediately. The male wolf took the initiative to approach the doctor. After the male wolf rubbed her leg, the wolves didn't take long to withdraw. Now, except for the male wolf, the other wolves were walking around the barracks, and the male wolf was watching the doctor on the spot. The soldiers standing guard outside quickly asked the doctor what had happened. The doctor just said that she had rescued the male wolf twice, and they had no ill intentions. Let's see what they're trying to do first. Well, the sentry warrior could only agree. However, no one expected that the group of wolves would walk around the barracks at a distance of dozens of meters and then sometimes stare vigilantly in other directions as if they were patrolling. After the wolves proved that they weren't hostile, the sentry warrior decided not to drive them away. What was more important was that the group of wolves had been doing this for several days in a row now, which made the female military doctor's comrades feel very strange. So they all inquired about what the doctor had done. Later, after the doctor told the local people, who were familiar with the habits of wolves, about her deeds with the male wolf, the locals speculated that this majestic male wolf was probably the Wolf King. They said that wolves were pack animals, so one of them must be the Wolf King, and they would fight for the position of the Wolf King every once in a while. According to the description of the male wolf's scarred appearance by the doctor, they speculated that it might be caused by its competition for the position of the Wolf King. Wolves are said to have human nature, and that everything has feelings. The majestic male wolf probably won the battle for the position of the Wolf King afterwards. And since the doctor had rescued the male wolf twice, well then it brought the whole wolf pack to repay her gratitude.